Good morning. Today is my seventh day of being in isolation. It all started a week ago on Thursday. That's when I found out that I had had a significant exposure to the coronavirus. I felt perfectly fine, but I decided to get tested immediately that day. That night is when it hit me. In the middle of the night is when I started coughing and it was hurting so much in my chest, had a deep headache, just really felt bad all over. So Friday I stayed home and I stayed in isolation. And when the news came Friday evening that I had the virus, that I had tested positive, I truly wasn't surprised. I still felt a little bit of shock, but I wasn't surprised. Now, since that time, I've settled into our bedroom here. Marsh and I had agreed on this over 6 months ago. If one of us got it, this is where we would come. We have a wonderful little sitting area with a bay window in our bedroom, and you have the bed, and then you have the bathroom. Someone could survive back here. Truth of the matter is, I have more space here than I had in the first apartment we lived in when we were in seminary. But it has been strange. For these last 7 days, I hadn't crossed that threshold. I really don't want to do anything that would infect Marcia. She's taken such good care of me. She's trying so hard. We want to be very careful we don't infect her. But now, 7 days into this, I'm starting to feel better. And I'm starting to ask the question, when can I go back into the world? When am I safe and I will no longer infect others? When am I no longer a carrier of the coronavirus? That's really a fascinating question. And I take that so seriously because I never want to be a part of the problem. I want to be a part of the answer. And I don't want to take the chance ever of infecting somebody else. I really got to thinking about a lady named Mary Mallon. Mary Mallon, she was from Ireland. She moved here to the United States in the 1880s. She began working as a cook in wealthy patron homes there in New York and in different restaurants. But they began noticing there around 1900 that New York was having an outbreak of typhoid fever. And in those days, the death rate was about 10% of those who got infected. George Sober was put on the job from the health department to try to figure out what was going on. And when there was an outbreak in New Oyster, a family of 11, 6 of them got sick. He began doing his research and he finally came to the conclusion this is being caused by a human being. And he finally decided it was Mary Mallon. Before he could interview her, though, she disappeared. Everything grew quiet for a while. And then, suddenly, he had heard that she was now working for another wealthy family in Park Avenue. He went to go check on her. He found her. He walked up and down the streets, knocking on doors, door after door, till finally he came to her home where she was working. He did find her, and he said, "Would you mind submitting to a few tests?" She attacked him with a butcher's knife. George took that as no. Before again he had a chance to interview, she disappeared again. But it wasn't long until there was another outbreak again. This time it was at a hospital, Sloan Hospital. 26 people got sick, 2 would die. And he immediately went to go do research, and sure enough, Mary Mallon was now the cook there at this hospital. He went and got the police, and she was arrested. It turned out she had a low-grade typhus bacteria. She had typhoid fever, but she was asymptomatic. She was a carrier, but she wasn't getting sick herself. But she had now been a carrier for a long time, and wherever she went, she was infecting people. More than 100 people would get infected across New York. A number would die. But Mary Mallon refused to believe that she was the problem or to quarantine. It's almost like she didn't seem to believe it or to care that she might be infecting other people. She became known as Typhoid Mary. She's written up in all kinds of medical books now as Typhoid Mary. When they finally were able to find her, they put her into a hospital there in New York on the banks of a river, and she would be there 26 years. There was no known cure. They wouldn't develop the antibiotic that could fix the disease until 1948. 26 years, she would have to live in quarantine so that she would no longer be someone who was infecting others. But you know the truth? You and I are carriers. We're all carriers. Not of the typhoid fever and not of the coronavirus. We're all carriers of an attitude and a spirit. We're the ones who infect other people with a spirit. Maybe it's being critical, angry, judgmental. If that's the spirit we carry, we infect our families, our friends, strangers around us with that spirit. But we can also be the carriers of joy, peace, hope, love. You see, you and I get to choose what kind of a carrier we are. I like to think about Jesus when he had going to begin his ministry and he went to the temple. It was on the Sabbath, and there he took the book of Isaiah and he read, "The Spirit of the Lord is upon me because he's anointed me to preach good news to the poor. He has sent me to proclaim release to the captives and the recovering of sight to the blind, to set at liberty those who are oppressed, to proclaim the acceptable year of the Lord." I'd like to believe that the Spirit of the Lord is upon all of us so that we can go out and help proclaim the acceptable year of the Lord, that we can be the carriers of peace and kindness and joy and hope. You and I get to choose. One thing's for sure, we're all carriers and going to infect other people. So go out and infect people today for life. Have a great day.